Hey guys, Woods Farm here. Just back out in the garage working on the Kubelwagen. I just got a huge order of electrical stuff from Amazon. Way cheaper for me to order this stuff from the States. So I got some wire, a bunch of connectors, morettes. I have a variety of different setups for fuse banks. Power distribution block. I got some switches, whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going to start working on this. You can see I've already started playing around. What I've done here is I've got a wooden mock-up of the what the dash layout is like. Just lay it out there. So you see, you get the idea. That's the fuse box, and that's the underside. These are my relays, and this is where the speedometer and all the instruments go. Warning lights, switches. I still have to order a 2-position headlight switch and a 2 or 3-position wiper switch for the windshield wipers. But I have 99% of what I need to start wiring this up. So that's what we're going to work on today. Okay, this is the diagram that I came up with for the main wiring. So I'm going to have 2 main power circuits. I might later upgrade that to have 3 power circuits, but there's basically going to be always hot fuse box, which will always have power running in from the battery generator, and there's going to be an ignition on or an on switch fuse box. It's going to have more circuits. Things like your brake lights and your hazards, you want power to all the time, and also some of the switches. So what happens is main power comes in, and then I got to jump off and go through the main power switch on the dash, which is a keyed switch, and I'm going to use a relay to control that main power feed. So the switch is actually going to operate a 40 amp relay, and there'll be another main power lead that goes into the secondary fuse box, if that makes sense. And from there, there's the ignition circuits, so the power going to the coil, choke and fuel cutoff, the warning lights. There's also going to be power feeding into the headlights, things like that. A lot of times there'll be kind of a 3-tier system where there's an accessories option as well, but I'm just going with a more simplified system for now. I can always add another box. And some of the bigger circuits, the headlights and the horn, are all going to have relays. So the main power is going to get connected right here on the bottom of this first fuse panel, and what I'm going to set up is a power distribution block for the various relays, and that's going to be mounted up here, and then there's the secondary fuse that's going to get power from this relay. Okay, so I'm just testing things out. I've got the first relay for the secondary fuse box set up. So that's 12 volts at the main power. So this entire fuse panel is getting 12 volts constantly. So I've just run a wire for a circuit for the switch here. So we got 12 volts there, and on the secondary we've got nothing. The switch is live and it feeds into the relay. So I should just have to switch it. There we go. So this is interesting. This switch is a 2-position switch. So in that position you get nothing. But it's working. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do for the relays and particularly the high-low on the headlights. This power distribution block's getting power from the second fuse box, and all of the relays, it's going to feed all of the relays for the main power. So for instance, this is going to be, we'll say this is the low beam. The relay's getting power, there's a circuit that's for the switch, and then the blue wire coming out is the power that goes out to the lights. So what I'm doing from here is I'm splitting it, and the right and the left headlight are going to have their own feed and their own fuse. Instead of just running the wire out and splitting it somewhere. This way, I'm pretty sure, if I understand how it works, if one of the headlights has a ground problem or shorts, or there's any issue with the wiring, the other headlight's still going to be functional. So there's going to be a double circuit for the low beam, left and right, and another circuit for the high beam, left and right. And that'll leave me one for the horn, and then I'll have an extra. So it's always good to have extra fuses and circuits I can add on to. So it's still pretty tight. I just added the flasher. That's for the signal lights and the hazard lights. And between that, the 4 relays, the secondary fuse box, this distribution block, I mean, pretty much the whole space is taken up. So I'm just working on the various gauges. The speedometer has a built-in oil pressure warning light and also a generator light, and it has a flashing light for the signals. But I incorporated my own larger lights down here. That's partially to kind of replicate the Kubelwagen dash. On the Kubelwagen there was kind of 2 really large warning lights for oil pressure and generator. So I'm not sure if this is going to work, but what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to pull all the power for these lights from one circuit on the fuse box. So I'm going to ring up a wire that'll jump to all of them, and then each individual light has a sending unit or a trigger, which is a ground. So they'll all individually have their own ground that'll go to the corresponding switch. But I think I can power them all up. And it's interesting to note, on the original 1974 181 speedometer, Those 3 warning lights all come off a common power. So I think I'll be able to do all 3. Or in this case, it's actually more like 5 little lights that will theoretically be lit up. I have no way of knowing if the ones on the speedometer even work, but I'm going to wire it as if they work. If they do, it's a bonus. Okay, so I got everything hooked up. I'm just going to test these lights. Look at that oil. It's a little red light. Signals. Generator. Interesting, that's a little red light, but whatever, that works. And then oil, on, off, on. So that works. I don't know if you can see that. Off, on. Okay, so it looks like the lights work. So you can see I got power here, but at the secondary panel I don't have power. If I hit the switch, I've got power. So far so good. Okay, so I've got the headlight switch wired in, and it's connected to a relay. I'm just going to test it out, just double checking all my work at the same time. I've got a battery hooked up to the main power, and then the secondary fuse box, it's dead, and you just turn the ignition switch and you get power there. I've got power at the power distribution block, so now it's just a matter of checking the lights. I mentioned earlier I have a left and a right feed for the headlights, so I'm just going to check the right. Yeah, it's working. And I'll just check the left. And it looks good. Oh. Off, on. So that's all good to go. The next step is basically carefully taking this all apart and using this wood. I've got the wood here, this piece, and the piece that represents underneath the dash. I've got all the mounting points. Just got to map those out onto the steel under the dash, pre-drill the holes, and I'll be able to mount all these components under the dash. I've got the switch coming. It's been ordered from Amazon for the windshield wipers, and I also have a switch on order for the left and right turn signals and the flashers, and that's all going to go through this flasher unit. But all of that wiring, the rest of the headlights, tail lights, the flashers, that's all pretty much remote wiring that's going to come in, and I'm going to do that at a later time after the body is further along. I'll be able to see where I can run the wiring, and I'll do that later. So as for this, it's pretty much ready to go. I've got lots of extra fuses to add to other circuits. So I have my warning lights and gauge lights all work. So yeah, that's it. If you have any suggestions, if you see anything I could do better, definitely leave a comment below. I'm in the full swing of Kubelwagen building now, so I'm going to be putting up videos probably every week, every 2 weeks at the least. So definitely like and subscribe if you want to see more of this project. Come back and check out the rest of the Woods Farm. Anyways, thanks for watching.